Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome as you're coming in. We have a few more minutes as our Zoom gets populated here. And we just thank you so much for coming to the Blue Jay Wisdom series, the webinar series sponsored by the Na'Ilihi Fund. So welcome. We'll be starting here in a few more minutes as we're allowing folks to come in. Thank you so much for being here. I'm checking the attendees. 13 are in the room now. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome you into our Blue Jay Wisdom series of webinars. We started off the week with storytelling, and hopefully some of you were able to attend that event. Had some good friends that were presenting on that webinar, but I was traveling at that time, so I wasn't able to join. But I hope that went well. And we have two more. We have tonight's series. And we also want to remind folks that we're also having a second or the third webinar tomorrow evening at the same time. And everyone is invited to attend that as well. Yes, these are going to be recorded. I see in the chat. It will be this tonight's series is being recorded. We're being recorded as we speak, or as I speak, and tomorrow's event will also be recorded. I'm going to go ahead and yeah, it'll be on the Ilahi channels. So you'll be able to catch it on either on the website, but the staff will be sure to send out announcements to all the participants to ensure that you get access to those recordings. Again, we want to get going here. We have some great presenters tonight. We just thank our presenters in advance for being here, and we have I'll start by introducing myself. I just want to say a short welcome. Gualapo T de Ishids Chult Araque Dachu. Welcome, friends and relatives, each and every one of you. And a little bit of our dialect in the Northern Lushootseed language. And that's going to be part of our theme tonight. We just thank the ones who carry the culture and do innovative things, what we can consider innovative, but really bringing our culture forward from our ancestors and our elders, and language being one of those things, and our ceremonies and our ways of knowing, our traditional knowledge, and just want to acknowledge that right off the bat, and with this series of webinars, the Blue Jay Wisdom webinars, really trying to capture a little bit of that and provide that to the community. And that's the goal of the Ilahi Fund, Indigenous women-led organization to really put in the forefront Indigenous ways of knowing and our language and traditional knowledge. So we thank them for putting these events together. Again, my name is Danisitan. That's my ancestral name. It's the second generation name from one of the names that my mother carries, which is Danisia. from Swinomish. It's a name that you would know from Swinomish, and I carry the male version of one of her names. And her other name is Hogalitza, and that's really important to share for those of you who carry those traditional names. Just thank you for carrying them. We don't own these names. We borrow them from our future generations. And so it really helps us conduct ourselves in a way that's meaningful. Um, I am from the Swinomish Indian tribal community, a tribal member there, and I've worked in education for over 30 years, and I'm very honored to be here tonight and to host. And some of my friends that are going to be presenting tonight, I've worked with previously in other positions, and so I'm really happy that they're here. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our first set of presenters. And I guess some of the logistics, if time allows, we'll have a moderated Q&A at the end of the session. We'll be using the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of your Zoom window. And the chat will only be seen by our admin team. So try to use the Q&A function. And also, this is much different, being online, we're not in person, so we can't really see all the reactions from each of you unless you have your camera on. And but so share your love for the speakers, and put it in the question. And if you hear something that's really meaningful, we'd love to read about it. And it helps us in our presentations. We'll also be doing a raffle at the end, so stick around for that. And by showing up and registering for tonight's webinar, your name is automatically entered into the raffle, and we'll choose 3 names at the end of the webinar that are gifts from the 8th generation. A lot of you might know that, a native-owned and developed business. We always support our local businesses and native artists. And tonight's stories are gifts freely given and freely shared with you, and they should be treated with respect and honored with gratitude. And please take what you learn with you and share what you need. But please do not take the stories themselves. The stories are I was having this really good conversation with my aunt the other day about research, and in the research world, very honored to, make sure that you cite the right sources and those types of things. But in our traditional stories, sometimes folks feel like they could just come and take and take what they want. And it's really the same way. We really should pay respect to each other and get the necessary permissions and have the necessary conversations to be able to continue to use this knowledge and informations. So the stories stay and the lessons go. I'm very honored to introduce LaRae Wiley and Chris Parkin. And LaRae is from the Arrow Lakes Band and a member of the Colville Confederated Tribes. She's the executive director and founder of the Salish School of Spokane. And LaRae earned her BA from Eastern Washington University in 1990 and is a state certified teacher. And Chris Parkin is LaRae's husband and the principal and co-founder of the Spokane Salish School. And I'm very honored to have you both here. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. Lieblam. Wai chai squisini sitat kin khatusko skahaten sachin sen mayaten.
Oh, right. Hello, my name is LaRae Wiley, and I am the executive director of Salish School of Spokane.
Chut sweetanu.
Otincha waiku umsel atten kin khatus hikos kat in sachin sen mayaten.
They call me Ann Magpie, and I'm the principal at Salish School Spokane. Yeah. Wolfkin still sway. I sin wheel me my e smeet Michael as palakal is naxilo he and kailuchins.
So I'm going to share, maybe tell about how our language has returned back to my family.
Kiwa. Wors penkin kin hap de wheel, lutkin te klapelis kalhulau.
When I was, I didn't grow up on the reservation.
Wors why kin klapko sklahat lutal his kalhulau.
I grew up near Spokane, not on the reservation.
Na hump niaip misteen kin senaichkst wors in hap in kailuchinum.
But I always had a good sense of my Sinaixt identity, and I knew that my elders spoke the language.
Kiwa in tatupa nas in kakana kokoilti in selchin.
My great grandmother and my grandmother, they both spoke in Selchin, Colville Salish.
Nam lut penkin kashnichalanihi.
But I myself didn't hear it.
Lut luta witzeltihi in kailuchin kol in mistam.
And they also did not pass on that language to my dad.
Actually, hamink so he my tir hastis twel wild luta ma ixtaman he quickly scale.
They very much wanted him to have a good life, to not be bothered or hurt by other people.
He why luta witzelti he in kailuchins.
And that's why they didn't pass on our language to him.
Now can still to have the castle open spinkt or is smish klau.
I think I was about 30 years old, and my great uncle on my dad's side passed away.
He Waitali in Haminki smith as the Itali has chout or Cisius or Sachlakini chichu oops nothing chak who iklik or Sink Wilton Nash is smith or is Jackom.
I really loved my uncle. He was nice, so smart. Sometimes my little sister and I, we would go to his place up by Northport.
Oh, is Jackom.
Oh, in the summertime.
Kiwa. Was it Leeway in is a sea way? He's Smith way. Tali has chautus. Mipen wischen can mipen wischen he cam tusi six taskacha or telha winken to mipenunum telha winken he telha winkenten.
My uncle was just so nice, so smart. It was from him that I learned to ride a horse. He's the one that taught me how to strum a guitar.
Okay. Well, he white kalali smith who's white can hoy ko pia ko he tem near.
So my uncle passed away, and I went to the Kelly Hill, the Pia Mission at Kelly Hill, to the cemetery there.
Or sweet kuchu ulu sikali or snaxi scolt meal teeth or shoot white. Kalalaha he scolt meal in kailuchinum.
So I was there at the funeral, and a man stood up and said, "This man who has left us, this man who has passed away, he was a fluent speaker."
Or he scolt meal he shoots. Why yet the meantime he knew his scale mipen wischen he in kailuchen or witzerkuli quickly he scale.
That man went on, he said, "We need people who will learn our language and give it to the other people."
Or he shoots yati spinkt schwintemal he habt it.
He said, Every year our elders are leaving.
Was yata mintam he scailo smipen wishing in kailuchen asli he ha.
We need our people to learn our language. It's a sacred, valuable thing.
Was lupen kinkas nicholan in kailuchen na ham kini legally temtem nieten was he tahai kin chakaspo usum.
I really had not heard much of my language, but right there at that cemetery, I felt like I was heartstruck.
He was waking in ham mink mi pen wishing in kailuchen was witzes koli snack silu was he quickly scalo asli.
I wanted to learn my language. I wanted to learn it and give it to other people.
Asli lutach mi steen is smith in kailuchenam.
I didn't even know that my uncle had been a speaker.
Yo, utalikin kosha.
I was so surprised.
Ki was lutach mi steen ho idkal he na kulamenta di in kailuchen na in chaminki he.
I didn't feel like I knew too much about our ways or culture, maybe, but I wanted it.
Ki wayas balak in chi was kin kol nas an was tune. Why ik smit ben wishnach in kailuchen.
So I went back home and I told Chris here, I told him, I'm going to learn my language.
Was he shoots why talichas komt.
He said, great, wonderful.
As he suchmat mayam koli spayolchen.
He was a Spanish teacher.
He which mistisi tzaisti iskailu he in kailuchen yati temhulau in kailuchen iskailu.
He kind of had this sense that people could talk languages and learn languages and everywhere.
He was luta titiamt kin mi pen wischen in kailuchen as he lutach mi steen he's kailu in kailuchenam.
It was not easy for me to learn my language to start. I didn't know anybody who spoke my language.
Kina hamsi slacht Peter Campbell in Wistis and Mayat and EWU he choose white. He peptowina legally spokinishan is kalhulau suchmat mayam he's in poklinishan.
But my friend Peter Campbell from Eastern Washington University, he told me that there was an elder woman on the Spokane reservation who was going to be teaching her language.
Was why kin chaina was kin hui tali was why tali in chasti he in kailuchen.
So I agreed to go over there, give that a try, and oh, I really liked the language.
Ki was he kunams was yatstim tichastli spus.
And the sound of it just was good for my heart.
Was why kin katli spinkt kini leos kin heaten is kailu he sin mat mayatan as he jakin sin such mat mayam.
So I volunteered there for 3 years. I was helping bring the language into the schools because I had been a teacher. I was an experienced teacher.
Cool. Was why let's see he an kakichi si kaimin was he in skalachulach halitensel he scale haminksel mipen wishnal he in kailuchen.
During that time, then Chris saw an ad on my home reservation. They were looking for language apprentices who would come and learn the language there.
Was in a make mipen wishl is dem tima or in kakana or in tatupa he in kolquiltons or white house school legal and spitzetten.
So I really wanted to learn the language that my grandma and great grandma spoke. So I was happy to be able to get a position there at OMAC.
Ki why kini leo nak spinkt or skot or kakichin samtitza Sarah Peterson in samachin and his squished.
I went there and I was able to meet up with an elder woman, Sam Titsa, Sarah Peterson.
Or Sam Titsa tali pacht in Cornels tali chassis boos.
Sam Titsa was so smart, but so kind, such a good heart.
Okay. Or why can coil not Sam Titsa or shoot? Why an nothing cha kukulam he in Quanchinton gully spokinishin or han haming coolam tightly tea.
So I ended up asking Sam Titsa. I told her that Chris and I had made some recordings and over in the Spokane language, and I asked her if she would like to do that kind of work with us.
He was haina so why ku in Quanchinam na Sam Titsa or ku coolam ta saats.
So yeah, she agreed, and we started making recordings, and with the recordings, we started making some books.
Rai hacha Sam Titsa haming sef palakol kashian koch.
After a bit there, Sam Titsa wanted to return back to Paul Creek where she lived.
Hikoli in Aishnola, he's Kalahulau.
That's on the Ashenola Reserve
Kulan Eagle Krashlau.
In Canada, up north across the border. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he snack Sheila with Haminks, Achtiltum he's in Imad.
Her family was looking for her to help with her grandchildren.
Okay. Well, some titsa kuchus way or han Hamink im ko Kashian ko puti kuch olamikli. Wait. Choiwi.
So Sam Titsa said, if you want to keep working, we could work there at Paul Creek. You guys could come there. Come on, you guys.
Yeah, so he like who he's squisklasia like hap to wheel or huikel and wisen maeten ku hakami cheat to him to mistmentami cheat to cooks hui ku huikel kaslian koch.
So our kids had gone off to college by that time. So we sold our house and we moved to Paul Creek in BC.
Ki or why equally kulam within Quanchinam or kulam he's ads within Jack and such mayam he quickly scale weekly.
So with Sam Titsa there at Paul Creek, we made recordings, made books, and then I started teaching other people the language.
With why me penunum he stem geelt in as to kilt. He stem geelt that hummings ku tachtiltum he ochtilat.
Then we got word that our daughter was having a baby, and she wanted us to come and take care of her baby.
Well, he hummings he stem geelt that hummings im kos cat or ku can hit or can hit him or why ku im ko skahat or can hit him he stem geelt.
So she wanted to move back to Spokane, so she asked us, and so we moved back to Spokane to help our daughter.
Okay, hummings hoikel and wisen Maya den such Maya he can shooten such marine.
She is gonna go back to nursing school.
Okay. Or tali kukayam asli he itis sinam imat.
We are very excited. That was our first grandchild.
Okay. Or why can ku tauchtet or he's tauchtet he why he yati so halt yaten kin ku in kailuchinam nafi sinam imatet.
So we did that. We ended up making a promise, and the promise we made was every day, all the time, we're only going to speak to our grandchild in Salish.
Why he tali chastus mi penunam Osh, mi ben wischen hin kailuchen, isenam imat. Now ham kin still switch my in coupils.
It was great. Our grandchild did. She was learning the language, but then I thought maybe she's going to be lonesome.
Ki actually luta for itis he
My loot sweet.
he stitchamala or in kailuchenum actually quinati in kailuchen he's kailu.
Because she would maybe be the only child learning the language. Our language was so diminished at that time.
What way can steals chmai ku chulu si quickly skailu also he in a usaten.
So I thought let's gather some other people together. We'll make a language nest.
What he why also called tatunks tiashno what tali has tis also.
We did a little pilot project for 6 months and they did great.
Or he could just imam im ku chulu so an ku can hits ku kulam he non-profit or ku kulam he sinma mayatin.
So 5 of us women, we got together, we made a nonprofit, and Chris helped some, and we made that nonprofit, and we made a real school.
What happenakin steals an kolkoyos stimach kistem he koli sinma mayatin.
So now I'm going to have Chris talk about what we have going on at our school. Thank you. See if I can accomplish this sharing of the screen again successfully. Wiley tatsächlich stützt sie noch in Chakin Chatus Hikos hat in Sach Chinsema Maiten ili Kamusmas he sinam imatili nal his kosi nal he sipentet. As my wife was saying, I work with her as the principal at Sayers School Spokane. We're very lucky. 4 of our 5 grandchildren go to the school, and we're very lucky to have our son and our daughter-in-law working with us at the school. So Sayers School might be a notable school in that our mission statement is that we are pursuing dynamic Sayers language revitalization, powering cultural renewal, and building a stronger, healthier community. Our mission statement doesn't use the word school. We are very much focused on language revitalization, and we're using a schooling model in order to help bring that about. So if schooling doesn't work and doesn't bring that about, we'll move on to something that does work. So far, so good. You know, for grants, you have to develop a logic model. And so this is one we made, and it is kind of atypical for logic models you see out there. But for us, it really is a reminder. The Salish language and culture are the heart of everything we are doing. And what we're trying to do is rebuild those connections among our generations, between parents and children, elders and youth, all our knowledge keepers, all bringing them together around the revitalization of the language, which always brings the revitalization of the culture. So the language we're speaking here tonight is Insach Chin. It's called Colville Salish or Colville Okanagan Salish or Okanagan Salish. It's one of our 4 Southern Interior Salish languages, and it is a just critically endangered language. We have maybe 2 or 3 surviving first language speakers in the state of Washington among the membership of the Colville Confederated Tribes. And there are maybe another 25 or 30 first language speakers in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia. The last Sinaiks fluent speaker passed 5-6 years ago. And so we're in a situation of extreme endangerment. And for that reason, we very much consciously pursue a dual language revitalization strategy. And the first strategy for that dual strategy is training new adult fluent speakers. There's pretty good evidence coming around all around North America and actually the world that shows that children who learn critically endangered indigenous languages in isolation from adult speakers tend not to bring that language into their life, tend not to pass that language on to their own children. That successful language revitalization for critically endangered indigenous languages, it's all about building intergenerational use and transmission of the language. And for us, the first step is then, okay, we need parents and other caregivers and grandparents and teachers to be advanced fluent speakers. Advanced fluent speakers, so they can spend their whole day in the language with the kids on the land. Also great academics, all kinds of cultural teachings in our drum circle. And once we have that going, then we can also expand out and provide immersion experiences for children and operate an immersion school. So we have this dual strategy, and we're very clear about we can't have strategy 2, which is immersion education for children, unless we are succeeding in strategy 1, the training of new advanced fluent speaking adults. So we kind of operate across these 8 programmatic areas at Sayers School of Spokane. We keep very busy. We've reopened our language nest this year. We reopened our language nest 3 weeks ago. This is for 1- and 2-year-olds, and our goal is to immerse them in the language, to immerse them in culture and in relationships with elders and knowledge keepers and their parents, all learning the language together. So it's a very small pilot this year with 5, and we expect to bring it up to 8 seats a year from now. We also operate a Salish immersion preschool. It has 10 seats this year. I guess it's noteworthy. We're proud of it, and we want to encourage others to look at this. We have ECAP funding and early ECAP funding for our Salish immersion preschool and language nest. And we continue to be the only ECAP site in the state of Washington in which the language of instruction is an indigenous language all day, every day. And we found that that system is adaptable, and there's a good stream of funding there available for tribal communities to do full immersion language training with kids and teachers and parents using the ECAP model. We also have a certified private school. So we're certified K-12. Before COVID, we had a bilingual, we went all the way up to 12th grade. We had a bilingual high school program. We took a beating during COVID. So this year we have expanded back up to 8th grade. So our private Salish immersion school is going from kindergarten through grade 8. And we are teaching literacy, math, science, PE, art, music, all in Insachchin. We're very proud to have developed Insachchin math curriculum that goes all the way up to pre-algebra. And we have a pretty strong Insachchin phonics and literacy program so that our kids can be fully literate in Insachchin. These kids in our school are the first language speakers of Insachchin for a long time, maybe 60 years. But they're also learning to read and write in the language, just in a natural way. When we closed our bilingual high school as a result of COVID, we held on to some of our kids that we graduated out in the 8th and 9th grade. And so we have a small Kusaniwa program. It's an enrichment program for high school aged and early college youth, so that they can continue to stay connected to the school. Some of them have work experiences doing Salish immersion childcare in the evenings when our parent classes are going on. And then we do an intensive summer program with them, give them employment and language and cultural experiences. Probably the heart of our school is our SLED program, the Salish Language Educator Development Program. We have 30 full-time employees who every day study and learn Insachchin with the express purpose of becoming advanced fluent speakers of the language. So everybody who works at Sayers School of Spokane goes to language training. We have a group of beginners who are starting out. They're in language training 6 hours a day. They spend 2 hours with the kids. Some folks who did that last year, they're spending 2 hours a day in language training, and then they're able to do 4 hours with the kids. They have some prep and study time. And then our cohort that is already at the advanced level, then they're doing 90 minutes of training a day. But even us at the advanced level, we work at it, and now we have an hour of Salish language training every day to maintain our fluency, advance our fluency, expand our fluency into other language domains. And that's really the heart of our work. It's the majority of our activity is we're creating cohorts of new advanced fluent speaking adults who get out on the land, who know the plants, who know the animals, who engage our kids in cultural practice. Next week, the whole school will be going up into Kalispell Lake, wading up to their chest in the water to do our skakautsa, our Wapato harvest that happens at the beginning of October every year. So we also have a very large community language program. So this year we have 4 evening sections here in Spokane, ranging from beginning, just starting out last week, up to advanced intermediate parents who have grown into the upper intermediate level. And then we also have an a Saturday class at Selkirk College in Castlecar, British Columbia, just across the line in our traditional territories to the north. So we're serving more than 60 adults in our community language program. There's one class that's kind of an exploratory class that meets only 2 hours a week. All the other classes are fluency track classes that meet at least 4 hours a week. And for all of the learners who maintain an 80% average and have good attendance and proceed towards fluency, we're able to pay them an educational stipend equivalent to $20 an hour, right? Folks need support. We can't just say we're going to learn language on the side as an extra when we're working hard to provide for our families. So we also provide free dinners Monday through Thursday at our school, and we provide drop-in childcare, complimentary childcare Monday through Thursday. So we operate long hours. Monday through Thursday, we're open 7:30 in the morning till 8 p.m. at night. Right now at the school, there's about 35 people going to class, and kids are playing, and there's childcare, and they all had dinner together. And that's absolutely vital. What we're trying to create are intergenerational pairs of new fluent speakers, so that the kids in our immersion school who are immersed in language, who are becoming speakers in language, they're connecting with their parents who go to night class, the parents who don't work for us full time. They agree to do at least 60 hours of language classes per year. Most of them do more than double that because they're on a fluency track. And that's where we start to see the language leave the school or leave the classroom and really take root in the home among the families. Of course, we have to do all of our own curriculum. There's no books in our language to be bought, to be found. So we have to make them. We spend a lot of time making reading books. We've made a math curriculum up to pre-algebra and insachchin, and the last couple of years we're focusing on culturally infused land-based science materials that also meet global standards for excellent academics. Every single kid in our school, even though they spend their whole day in Salish immersion, they all read at grade level or higher in English. They're all at grade level or above in math. We want our organizing word is squamquamt, quamquamt, excellence. We want everything for them, right? We have a horse program, so kids 2nd grade above spend 10% of their school days out at the horse barn. They spend another 10% of their school days gathering our traditional foods and medicines. And then the upper elementary and the middle school kids do substantial field work with the Spokane Riverkeeper. So they're catching crawdads, doing tissue samples, turbidity studies, water studies, culture, chemical analysis, whatnot. So lots of field work connecting them with restoring and healing the land. And the work we did with Samtitsa, LaRae and I kind of made a conscious effort not just to do cultural immersion with her, but rather to actually do a lot of recording and building out of materials so that we could leave a path behind us as we became fluent. And that effort has grown into our Indigenous language fluency transfer system. And this is a framework of Indigenous language learning that we provide free to any Indigenous language community to help them build a path forward to also achieve advanced fluency in their language. And it's been very gratifying. My PowerPoint has a boo-boo in it. It says there are 4 Indigenous language communities. That's supposed to say 24. We've got an amazing group of the Bertam language in Alice Springs, Australia, revitalizing their language with this system. Folks in Southern California, San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, active groups in the Yukon Territory, the Children of the Taku Society, and the Northern and Southern Tushone languages. So we formed this Indigenous language fluency transfer system network where we're all helping each other really get past the traps that have kept critically endangered language communities from being successful in creating new, advanced, highly fluent adult speakers in a timely way, a predictable way, so that it empowers us to do schooling, to really bring the language back into ceremony, back into our harvests, etc.
Chris and LaRae, thank you so much. I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes as we get ready for our next speaker.
Well, we very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We're actually going to wrap up and just very much put out the invitation. We'd love to have folks visit. We're here in the city of Spokane. We're a full-time Salish immersion school in the city of Spokane. And we invite your participants tonight to come and visit us, share in this work. We can take heart from one another and inspire one another.
Yeah, Limlamt.
Limlamt, Kiwa.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Even better than the last time I was there.
We're hanging in.
Amazing so much tonight, and I hope we get enough time at the end to ask some questions. I know folks have some questions there. But thank you, raising our hands to and both LaRae and Chris for the good work and really the family orientation. I've heard you present about that before, about raising your child in a language, and it's just an amazing thing, and I'm so glad that you shared that tonight.
Thank you.
I'm gonna switch over to our next presenter, and we'll have Reuben Martinez, who's a member of the Makah Nation. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Western Washington University and a master's of marine affairs from the University of Washington. And his passion is for climate resilience work. Started while at Northwest Indian College in Bellingham. Hey, that's in my neck of woods. I'm located here at Lummi Nation, where he began exploring tribal strategic energy plans. This led to him to a policy analysis specializing in policy work, where he helped co-write the Tribal Solar Barriers Project. And we're going to probably have some collaboration of the Ilahi Fund, but we'll leave it to you, Reuben, to share that. And we'll turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's see. So I guess the name of this presentation is Energy Sovereignty, but I think maybe this kind of turned out to be more of like a tribal success story kind of a presentation. I just kind of wanted to shout out all the cool projects and all the good work people are doing kind of in our region and outside our region too. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, you hit most of the things that I had there for myself. But I'll just speak a little bit of my language, since it seems like everybody's gotten to say a little something. Yathapi hawith nach atuin Parkin ho takshia hupi in hu ip Sikyak Ukhen, Okthama, Reuben, Histakshitla, Gwinishchat, Uhukwa, Umyaksu Rita, Uhukwa, Nuiaksu Brian. And so, yep, my name is Reuben. I'm a Makah tribal member. I come from the Bow Chop and Swan families. Let's see. Oh yeah, and you went through all of my background and all that stuff, so I'll just skip over that and just kind of get into some of the cool stuff. So maybe somebody is thinking, why are we talking about energy? Why is energy, I guess, interesting or important or whatever? And I guess last month I was at a water summit that was held by AT&I. And in that conversation, of course, water is life. I think all of us know that, it is an essential ingredient to life. But I guess I was thinking that energy is kind of like an ingredient to modern life, which is, I don't know where you stand on that bit, but I think it's the thing that is allowing us to have this conversation now, right? It is powering the lights in the background. It is powering my laptop. It is powering the internet that's letting us, to chat. So it's this thing that kind of connects us now, and it feels like it's so intertwined with water. Dams, I think, is a good example of kind of that like interconnectedness, even if it's not something we want, like it is still very connected. I know that many tribes, like at a personal level, like I know Makah right now, I think they're still having a brownout. I know that power and internet is all down out there, so like it does have real impacts on our communities. And most tribes are at the end of their energy, their power lines. So if there is a power outage, like they're gonna get hit. So I also think that there are lots of cool energy projects and types of energy. It can be very suited to your tribe and your region, and what I guess what your tribe holds dear to their hearts. And that also gives you fire to fight against the things that you don't want, right? So I know some things that are held in some contempt, or held in a negative light, maybe is a better way to put it. Uranium mining, coal mining, dams have their own problems. So like it's not all great, but there are lots of different kinds, and so that can kind of help us achieve our different kinds of energy goals that we have, right? Energy sovereignty, energy resilience, energy independence, I think, is kind of the end goal of energy resilience. But I think more and more projects that I'm seeing kind of in this professional space are really kind of about trying to mitigate climate disasters on people's communities, right? There's been lots of fires, there's sea level rise, there are just lots of things that are kind of headed. And so I think these projects are really trying to help communities be okay when bad things happen. So anyways, let's go on and look at some of the cooler projects that we have kind of going on. Oh, and also, as a disclaimer, when I'm talking about renewables, I know sometimes people like to be specific about what they're talking about. And for me, when I talk about renewable energy, I think about hydro, solar, geothermal, wind, biofuel, and tidal. So those are kind of the main ones that I'm thinking about when I'm talking about renewable energy. So just so that we're all on the same page. All right, let's talk about Spokane. Clyde Abrahamson is like a rock star when it comes to the energy projects that they've been doing out there, out in Spokane. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was thinking about kind of like this really cool intertwining between like culture and these projects. So the children of the project was called the Children of the Sun Solar Initiative, so the COSI, right? And Clyde kind of described to me, like the sun is very sacred to the Spokane tribe, and so like it just felt like it was a really, really good pairing. And so, due to Clyde's leadership and other staff, they were able to get 9 public buildings. So, like the tribal buildings that they have there, and then 23 residential buildings. So like people's homes. So they were able to get these solar panels out on these buildings. And this was used as kind of like an energy efficiency project to ultimately get to energy independence, because they don't, they want to be entirely self-sufficient. So with these 31 different solar panels, these 31 different buildings that they put these solar panels on, they generated about 650 kilowatts of solar, which is a good amount. In these projects, they were able to support some of their community members with being able to install these solar panels, and they have 2 long-term positions held there, for operations and maintenance, to make sure that they're still functioning how they should. And it seems like it was kind of like a pilot project, because they have really expanded on what they're doing now. So they have, I don't know if they have given it a different official name, but I just called it Cozy 2, because that's what Clyde called it. But they ramped up how much solar they're expecting to to put on their buildings. But instead of 31, they're going to 140 buildings. So that's a big jump. And that's awesome, because most of that, I think, is just going to the tribal members and going onto their homes. And as an additional little slide I have here, sometimes kilowatt hours and megawatt hours and all that stuff doesn't mean a whole lot unless like you can kind of see how much, what is that in dollars, right? I think we can all understand dollars. And so here I have just some of their tribal buildings that they have. And at the end there, the value, that's how much they saved in the year, and their energy bills. So like that's a lot of money, right? You got $14,000 there, you got $10,000 there. Like that's a chunk of money, So they're doing awesome work. Also, as a quick aside, all the information that I have in this slides is all like public information, so I'm not I'm not sharing things that shouldn't be shared. So just so that we're all aware of that. Let's see, Blue Lake Rancheria. Blue Lake is like the gold standard when it comes to what a microgrid looks like. And a microgrid, I think, is kind of one of the end goals of energy independence, right? Because you're basically making yourself able to separate from the grid, right? So you're not reliant on the dams, you're not reliant on whatever energy systems, that are kind of powering your utility. You have your own batteries, you have your own generation, and you are self-sustaining, right? And so that's awesome. And so Blue Lake really started their project similar to Spokane. I forgot to mention this, but Spokane, they started their project because of the Cayuse Mountain Fire in 2016. It was a really tragic story. Essentially, the fire that was there cut through their power lines, and so they literally couldn't fight the fire. And so I think that was their spark. That was, their impetus to like really push towards like doing these good energy projects. And similar with Blue Lake Rancheria, they've been experiencing lots of climate disasters. And so they decided that they were going to, make a microgrid, and they did one heck of a job, because it's pretty awesome. So let's see. So some of the quick notes on here, they have achieved, I think this was in 2017, but they achieved a $200,000 annual energy saving just because of, the solar panels that they have there and the generation. So that's really cool. They have increased their own employment, which is really exciting. And the microgrid isn't just, to my understanding, the microgrid isn't just for, I guess, the tribe. They've been very generous in allowing, the local communities to come in and use their microgrid when like things get really hairy. Because again, like, these fires are really intense, and especially if you are you need to use medical equipment, right? Like if you're on like a respirator or, you know, or something, like you need to be connected to energy to live basically. And so that's what they have here is they have a community resilience hub, you know, not just for them, but for the, you know, the whole community, which is really cool, you know? Okay, let's move on. So Nez Perce, I think they have some of the most forward-thinking, progressive, ambitious energy work in the region. It's really incredible, like what they're proposing. But essentially, they have this energy company called the Nimipu, and it is a tribally owned energy company, and they're basically working to get to net zero, become completely self-reliant. So again, you know, like this energy independence, energy resilience. So they're really driving hard on this, but it's, I guess, not just for them, because they're really wanting to get the lower Snake River dams out. And so in 2016, they identify, or BPA, which is Bonneville Power Administration, they're kind of the, I would say, the administrative body over the major dams in the region. They said that basically it's going to take 5,311 megawatts of solar to offset the lower four Snake River dams, right? So like if you can generate 5,311 megawatts of solar, like that would be equal to the Snake River Dam's, you know, output. So Nez Perce went ahead and have been trying to to generate enough energy to basically take those dams down. And I think they recognize that this is a regional thing. You know, it's not going to be on them to generate 5,000 megawatts of power. So they have been trying very hard to get the other tribal communities in the region to, you know, generate the power so we can take down those dams. And that's just like super cool. Let's see. I know that they, if you visit their website, it seems like they have something of like a turnkey business model. So I honestly don't know a whole lot about that, but it seems like they're driving really hard to get people to adopt solar in the region, and that's really cool. Let's see, anything else? Nope. Okay, let's move on. CTUR, Confederate Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. So I think this one is really cool just because they're really focused on their community with community education and getting energy late in the day. Brain's starting to fail. What am I trying to say here? They're trying to get let's see. Well, let me back up. So first of all, they have developed and installed, they own and operate 366 solar panels. So that's really cool, which produces a lot of energy for their community. Let's see, I think I have 230,000 kilowatt hours. I think the average consumption of a house, you know, of a regular house is about 10,000. So theoretically, the amount of energy that they've installed is enough to cover about 230 homes. So that, I mean, that's really cool, you know, for the year. And so, yeah, along with education and along with trying to make, I guess things just more, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word, just more resilient, I guess, like making sure that homes are properly insulated and the heating and cooling is sufficient for the home, and, you know, efficiency, that's what I'm looking for. They're focusing on efficiency for their community members, which is really cool, because that is unfortunately a large chunk of what you're looking at when you're looking at like a community's energy consumption is like, I think 40% of it's just heating and cooling. And so if your house is just like, you know, letting, you know, really bad at keeping the heat in or something, right? Like that's a pretty big loss, and that's a pretty big heating or cooling bill. So anyways, besides I just think that they've been doing a really cool job, engaging their community. They're also one of the few tribes here in the Pacific Northwest that have a dedicated energy team. So, not very many tribes, we got a lot of stuff going on. Every tribe has their own priorities and all the good stuff. But CTUR is one of the few that has, I think, like 3 or 4 different people specifically dedicated to energy, which is pretty rare, but it's also really cool because they're able to do all of this awesome work. So not to discount anybody else, any of the other tribes that have lots of cool projects going on, but I think I was capped at 20 minutes, so that's what I was trying to keep to. Yeah, thanks so much for your time and listening, and I will end it there.
Reuben, thank you so much for this presentation. I didn't know about any of these projects, so I'm very thankful that you've highlighted them, and appreciate your research and keeping track of what tribes are doing from California up here to the Northwest. And brings to mind, I know we're probably not Elahi Fund. We're probably going to excuse me from future contracts because I'm starting to get political with this next statement. But as many of you heard, Trump made this comment about this large faucet here in the Northwest, which turned out to be I didn't know he was talking about the Columbia River and just diverting water to California and south. And that was just an astounding thing. And seeing your presentation just really highlights the fact that we need to protect these resources and be caretakers. And I really appreciate your presentation today.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And not to discredit Lummi either. I didn't realize you were up here in Lummi. Lummi's also doing lots of cool stuff. I was just at your guys' new medical facility. Super cool.
Oh yeah.
Got lots of solar panels on there, doing amazing work there too. So thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to pivot right into our next presenter. Renee is going to do her own introduction, and just thank you so much for being here today. And we'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Renea Perry. I am a citizen of the Central Council of Tlingit Haida Indians of Southeast Alaska. My family are also Inupiat and North European. I live in what is called Portland, and I wear a few hats, but for the context here, I am the executive director of Portland All Nations Canoe Family. And so I'm gonna try to share my screen here. Let's see what happens. All right. I'm just going to give a quick background and then get into talk a little bit about our culture and our cultural programming and also our Indigenous Climate Justice Project. So thank you to the other panelists for your great presentations. And I'm really happy to be here with you all. Portland All Nations Canoe Family was created in 2012 by Native American elders in Portland to serve urban Native families with place-based canoe culture education. A couple of our elders who are Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, went to Evergreen College to witness a birch bark canoe being built and got really excited and knew about the canoe journeys and got really excited, and they felt like we needed that in Portland to serve urban Native families. So they got together and raised the funding and worked with John Smith, who is Skokomish, who created our first canoe, Amaguk, back in 2012-13. We were first stewarded by NAYA, the Native American Youth and Family Association, for a few years, and then we formed our own nonprofit organization in 2018. that's when we became Portland All Nations Canoe Family. So far, we've completed about 11 canoe journeys with Pacific Northwest tribes, our relatives here, and we participated in the 50th year anniversary paddle to Alcatraz back in 2019, which was very exciting to bring our canoes to support the tribes there and to rekindle those kinship relations. Our mission is to preserve Indigenous culture by nurturing families and protecting the water. We do this through cross-generational community building, cultural strengthening, and continuing to deepen our connection to the environment. Excuse me. We have leadership training. Part of that is that we have 2 youth skippers. They are JJ, who you see here, who is Coeur d'Alene, and Nesper. She is our main skipper, who has been skippering this canoe for about 5 years. She's been on almost every single journey that we've been on. There's another of our young people who is JJ's 20, and our other skipper is 21, 22. She's been skippering for about 3 years. So part of that skippering, some of you probably know, but part of the leadership training of learning to be a skipper in our cultural canoes is you have the navigation part. So the skipper has their paddle in the water so they can feel the current and help to guide the canoes. They're watching ahead, and they're keeping everybody safe in the canoe. And then the team building part with our youth, working together to learn also the water safety part and to start learning that navigation piece. So if you're in the front of the canoe, you also are supporting the skipper to watch where we're going. And some of our youth, Travis and CJ here, they're both about 14, 15. They've been leading a lot of our songs, getting us motivated, getting us inspired to get together. They lead the drumming part and keep us going with our song practice. And as part of participating in Journey, we have, we're tending to our kinship relations when we're on, when we're in the waters of our relatives up here. And so it's a really important piece of the journey is you're on the water, yes, and you're engaging with the environment there, but also visiting other people's lands and learning the cultural ways of other people, and building those relationships and being uplifted by other tribal communities, and that helps to build their self-esteem and their courage and their outlook, their Indigenous worldview. And so this photo on the far right is the landing at Suquamish this year. Our cultural programming throughout the year, we're on the water 6 to 7, 8 months out of the year, depending on the weather, because we are in an urban area. We also, people, we're in this situation where we're in a very busy area, either, what is it called? We have some suburban Indians and urban Indians folks, school, work, and sports. And so we do our best to stay out on the water as much as we can. We're mostly on the Columbia River. When we're not on the water, we are still gathering together to practice cultural activities. We just had our first weaving conference this past year in March, and we are planning our next one. But we also, get together to do beadwork, weaving, we have Wasco elders that are part of our canoe family and on our board, and so we do salmon bakes sometimes when we gather, and so we're learning about that part of ecology. And then we also have the Indigenous Climate Justice Project. We were awarded a Portland Clean Energy Fund award for 5 years at 2.4 million. The Portland Clean Energy Fund is a 1% tax that the city of Portland applies to businesses that make over 500,000 a year. So you think about your box stores like Target and Walmart and the auto dealers and those bigger businesses that are making a lot of money. And so this helps to get that funding back into our communities. Our proposal and our project is multifold. So we're partnering with PSU's Indigenous Nation Studies program and the Lewis Stokes BIPOC STEM program to work with their interns to the BIPOC STEM students. They're learning about iTech, and then along with our Indigenous interns that come out of the Indigenous Nations Studies program and STEM programs are learning about iTech, learning about the canoe family, place-based cultural education. They get opportunities to do research that they would then be credited with. PSU does not own that work that they do, it's the students. And they're going to partner with us in stewardship decisions and the work, participated in all negotiations, so that we consider this leadership and advocacy building. I don't really love the word workforce training, but I understand it. We like to say this is leadership training. The toolkit is, like I said, multifold. So one piece of it is that we're documenting conversations, research with local agencies like the City of Portland, Metro, which is our municipal government, that is over 3 counties, Bureau of Environmental Sustainability, which is under the City of Portland, Multnomah County, etc., the stormwater and drainage districts. We're documenting what it means to acquire spaces for stewardship, to be able to restore those places, conserve and protect them. Forested lands and watershed areas in the Portland urban area. So part of this is documenting how to have access to places to steward, but it's also getting on the land and doing that restoration and looking at what does it mean to be able to protect this land from development within the Portland urban area. Whether that's like an environmental, I forget what it's called, environmental zoning allocation, or maybe land trust. So this is really kind of in similarly to Segurate in the Oakland area in California, a kind of an experiment to see, like, if the city of Portland, like, are you willing to go there and do a land back experiment? So we have this relationship with PSU, which we're really grateful for. We're working with Indigenous faculty and staff predominantly, and folks of color and culture for the most part. But I wanted to make sure that we also uplifted and connected with community scholars. So not all of our folks go through Western academia. Many of our folks are knowledge holders. They have these lived experiences with the land, how to care for the land in a culturally responsive way. So we want to make sure that they also have these opportunities to participate, to share their knowledge, and to be a part of the planning and the stewardship decisions, and also to be on the land to share what they know, or to learn. And we consider this also leadership training whenever possible. Ideally, it's my dream, and I keep telling PSF this. Whichever piece of land that we get to steward, we really would like it to, be a land back, like in the way that Segorite is, to be given back. So does that go to a tribe? We don't know. Does it come, under a land trust, where we'll be looking at these different kinds of entities to make sure that this land is not developed in 5 years or 10 years by the Portland Business Bureau or those folks. There are 2 pieces of land that we're very interested in. One is in North Portland. It's about 20 acres of forested wetland in a neighborhood that also has industry around it, and it's very close to the Columbia River. Critical need of protection from development. And there's also a project that we're thinking about and that we're going to make as a case study, because it'll take a long time to activate some work on that area. I forget what the program was called, but in the 30s, it was a workforce training program in the 30s, where when folks came back from the war, in order to create jobs for them, they were out working on the land. And one of the things that they did is they installed these big, huge boulders along in Oregon and Portland along the Johnson Creek area. So you have these big walls full of boulders, and sometimes the boulders are on the floor of the creek. And so we're thinking about, and we're going to look at, like, what would it mean to apply ITech knowledge and experience here, and low impact machinery to be able to take those rocks out and restore that creek area. Johnson Creek, it is documented that there is it is a salmon pathway, a salmon habitat. So looking at restoring salmon habitat in the Johnson Creek area using ITech. They have, Bureau of Environmental Services has removed some boulders in other areas and have supported the creek to find its own meandering. Again, it's natural flow. And so we're looking forward to see how that brings salmon back to the area and makes it easier for them to return to their homelands. I was trying to be really quick. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, we're just really expanding beyond. We're keeping canoe culture, canoe programming at the center, but ITech, even the canoe culture, is Indigenous, traditional, and ecological knowledge. So we're expanding how to teach and to share Indigenous knowledge of the ecology around us in the way of place-based education. We are from over 40 tribes, nations, bands, clans, villages, and with varying degrees of connection to our culture. So how can we have connection to culture? And that is through place-based cultural education, but also, embedding, instilling Indigenous values in everything that we do. And so with that, I will stop here. And yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Renee,
Thank you.
so much.
All right.
Thank you so much, raising our hands to you. Thank you so much,
Uh,
Renee.
thank you.
That is so
You're
amazing. It just I've always wanted to learn more about the canoe family there, and so I really appreciate this presentation, having been a part of the canoe journey myself, and knowing Emmett Oliver. Emmett Oliver was an educator, and the first director of the Office of Native Education for the state. And when he retired, he became a part of the centennial celebration for the state of Washington. And it was his vision to have the resurgence of our traveling canoes. And it's been so great to see, all these canoes come forward and, think about the canoe way of life. And I think what you all are doing is so important. It's just changing the dynamic of what people think it you know a canoe family is, or what it takes to be a part of it. It's not just paddling, it's not just the journey, but you've added so much to the stewardship and the caring of the water and relationships. So great work, and really appreciate you sharing tonight. And I think I hope more people can learn more about the canoe family there.
Thank you so much. Gunap Chish.
Thanks so much for being here. And we have a few minutes. We're gonna do a raffle here in a few minutes, but I wanted to also give a plug for our event tomorrow night, which will be at the same time at 6 p.m. Titled "Sharing the Power of Vision Across Generations." And so we're inviting folks, and let other folks know as well. Get on social media and share the event. You can find it on the website, and let folks know that we'll be gathering again tomorrow. We really appreciate everybody participating in the Blue Jay webinar series. And my mom had to go to bed. My mom texted me and said that she was on here. And so I feel bad because one of the things that my mom always does is begins with the opening prayer. And so I'm going to close with a prayer, and take a little moment just to, gather us all together in one. And everybody has their own way of praying and their own ways of, acknowledging and meditation, or, your own manner. So please do so. And I'll just say a quick prayer. Hakak shaksiab, tigwitsi chof du alti slachel, tigwitsi chof du alti sa asqua of chof. Wahali tu chufti lok chof. Wahali tu chof ti but badat chof. Wahali tu chof ti sa atlad chof. Wahali tu LaRae, Chris, Reuben, and Renee Assista. We thank everyone just for being here, and we ask the Creator for blessings for the ones that have gathered, and our presenters, and our elders, and our young ones, future generations. So thank you so much. I think we're gonna do our raffle. It's almost 7:25, so we don't want to keep folks too late. And I think, oh, there it is. Wow. You all are entered into the raffle. So I think that thing is going to spin, and then the Wheel of Fortune. Zenith. Oh, is it? Oh, whoa, no. I didn't do that. I didn't keep spinning it. Nicole Klein. Winner. Yeah, they're pretty amazing, these spinning raffle wheels. next winner, Mercedes Atkins. Thank you so much for being here. And we are through this raffle supporting Native-owned businesses. I saw the name 8th Generation, and a very popular brand now owned by the Snoqualmie tribe. Lane Noneman. Yay! Congratulations, everyone. We'll get those prizes out to you. I'm not sure the staff will get them to you somehow, some way. But do come out tomorrow night. We'll be gathering here right at 6 o'clock again, and for our next round of the Blue Jay Knowledge webinar series, or Wisdom. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Oi. Oi, Kucha.